All right, so there we go. We are live. So I got Zach Glazar on the line with me here. If you happen to be
Hello,
watching
everybody.
us, yeah, hey, I'm talking. No, if you guys happen to be watching this live, by all means, post any questions you may have, RPG related, and Zach, I'll relay those to Zach, and I'm sure Zach would love to answer those and let you know what he thinks about this, that, and the other thing. But what we're here to talk about, the most important thing we're here to talk about today, is the Sea King's Malice, which is the big giant new Kickstarter from Frog God. It's hitting stretch goals and funded. It's and I'm going to talk about this, and I want you to, and I'm going to ask you questions. But this is the big, like, the sea adventure, you know, the like the stuff that the water adventure that all DMs think they want to run, but then they actually start getting into like the logistics of how it works for them. And it seems weird. I'm just going to say this. It seems really odd that you would have this Kickstarter when something just got released, I think, like this week by a certain other RPG company. Might be slightly larger than yours. But I'm going to let you talk now.
There are no larger. No, sorry.
Tell me about Sea King's Malice.
No, I'm gonna tell you the first because actually what you brought up is important, and important only because it's funny. Um, it was a complete coincidence. Alex Cameron, who is the author of this book, 18 months ago was when we first started talking about doing an adventure with the Sea Devils, because Bill Webb.
Now, are we allowed to say that name, or is that a proprietary?
I have no idea.
And how do you pronounce it? I'm just going to ask you. How do you pronounce it?
Swajan.
See, I hear Sahuagin.
I hear it all, and I just go with what I went with when I was a kid. I learned today that Jubilex I've been saying wrong my entire life, and so I'm really upset about it.
What? So, it isn't Jubilex?
No, it's Juiblex.
Oh,
Jublex.
Jublex.
I know. I was equally upset.
Yeah, because it's always been Jubilex for me, or Jubilex.
I know. I'm telling you, man, it's something's wrong with the world. I accuse the guy of photoshopping it. Anyway,
right,
no.
Tell me about it.
But anyway, we want to do an adventure about them because they're damn interesting. They're very, ever since I read Shadow over Innsmouth as an adult, plus my absolute favorite series of modules from back in the day were the U series. Saltmarsh.
Me too. You and me, same page.
And Alex Cameron, who wrote this as well. And Alex made a point that is true that I guess I think I knew internally but never vocalized, is that the U series was the first real modern adventures because they had the consequences of making a decision rashly were ugly. And unlike, I love like Tome of Horrors, right? Tomb of Horrors. I love it a lot. I think it's great, but it's oh no, a lich! Like, check it out, a trap. If you slaughter the lizardmen in Dunwater, you're a tool, man. You feel like a heel. You actually have an emotional response to behavior that no game would provide, that you get from like a role-playing game. And that was really the first time in a commercial setting that you had that was built into it in such a way to where the consequences of not thinking through the moral aspects of what you did mattered. And that was Danger of Dunwater. And the whole U series had that. So we just loved those. And I think we associated the waterborne adventure parts with it. And the first time you got to see a ship, and they had a the little fairy dragon guys, the little dragonettes or whatever they were called.
Yep.
I remember that was in the Saltmarsh. And I just love the adventures, and Alex did too. And he pointed that out to me. And I'm like, that's true. But this is 18 months ago. We talk about it. He's going to do a shorter adventure. And we find out that, with our Gantt charts and our timing, and okay, we're going to do this in the spring of 2019. And it must have been a month later, we get the Ghost of Saltmarsh notice. And it was like, it was a matter of, it was like, well, we look derivative, and we won't do as good a job in terms of we just can't print that many books with that much, fancy art and everything else that we could, but then we decided we're gonna give it a shot. If that's gonna be our competition, we're gonna do it. And Casey Christopherson and Alex have worked real hard together to make the art on this just amazing, and it is. The adventure is very cool. It's very epic. It's really dark towards the end, but it has, 3 distinct sections of it that are really cool. The modules that we offering with it, one is an introductory module. So you start it sets you up in the area to get ready to go. The other ones are just sea-related adventure stuff. We have other stretch goals that are related. We've got Satine Phoenix did a really awesome series of videos for us. We're releasing slowly about the actual play. They're showing the game as we went, and so those kinds of things. This has been a real big investment on our part to make a book it's shorter than we've been doing in the past, because that's kind of where the market's going.
Yep.
And but when we say shorter, I mean it's not 1,100 pages long. Is what I mean by shorter. It's not like 900 pages of Rappahathic. It's actually we're looking more at the 250 range, maybe less. I don't know. You never know till the layout's done. We may add some stuff to it, and with Kickstarter may give some more material to it, etc. So you don't know till it's done, but it's a nice adventure. It's I would put it's similar in length, I think, to Storm King's Thunder, if you want to look at one of the WotC books.
Okay.
And this after looking at, I got my copy of Saltmarsh yesterday, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think
it is very good. It is.
This makes a good companion one with it, with pieces you can use while you're doing it. If you want to play through Saltmarsh, this is not a bad something to have with it at all. There's no contradiction stuff. We actually did know, I'll be honest, we knew a few things in advance because we were working with the guys at Beatles and Grimm and etc. to make these really fancy maps, and we learned that there were going to be the ship stat blocks. And so we had put something in ours that is not the same, because we don't like to copy WotC at all. We respect their IP. All you can possibly
hands off.
Hands up. No, overboard, man. Overboard. Above board. Man. Anyway, but we have something that will work with that. So we want to make sure that this jives with it really well. But we've had a lot of support. They talked about it at the D&D Live Descent thing this weekend, and we've been on a couple of for the first time ever. Alex was on a couple of their live channels, and it's been really nice. Those guys are solid professionals, man, and they're not our partners in this in any way, but they certainly made it possible for us to do this without any kind of impediment. So it's been great.
No, and you touched on so many things, so I'm going to kind of bebop around a few of them. One, since you mentioned the U series, and I said that's like my favorite. The 2 things that I really loved about the Saltmarsh was that each module felt like its own separate thing. U1 was a haunted house that you eventually, spoiler alert, it wasn't haunted. It was a corrupt illusionist, running like a smuggling den. U2 was like the whole where you're digging into, like, you think the lizardmen are the bad guys, but if you can run into the elderly lizardman shaman, you find out no, they're not the bad guys. They, these other things that you've never heard of before are the bad guys. And then the U3 is kind of a straight up fight with the Sharkmen underneath the water. And I like the fact that it was like 3 separate feels, if you will.
And it was 3 separate feels, and they were linked nicely with a wonderful way to actually separate them. You're absolutely correct.
And then the other thing I really liked, and this is a total tiny little thing that doesn't really matter at all, but in the very first adventure in U1, like if you asked the city if they had anybody they could send with you to like help you, because they had like a city guard that would go with you, like him and his brother, and they if you kept them alive, their stat blocks increased. They gained levels. So like the next time you took them, like the city guard was like a level 2 fighter, and his friend and his brother was like a level 2 ranger, if I remember correctly. I might not remembering correctly, but I loved how like it was organic, and that was like the first time that ever happened. It was like, like you said, the other D&D modules, it wasn't like that at all.
No, and I think that a lot of modules afterwards took the cues from that it was the first really, I look at like more modern adventure versus the ones that were like based on tournament modules or were just oh my God, here we are, orcs. Like,
kick the door down. There's
random cave, and I love those kinds of things, and we write them. We sell those kinds of books still because we love them. But the Saltmarsh stuff was the first of the more modern things. I mean, you couldn't have written Slumbering Czar without having the sort of deeper meanings that you found like in the Saltmarsh stuff. So I mean,
Okay, so now touching on the other things you said. So you said shorter. Like, what kind of page count are we looking at here after you get all these stretch goals and everything that you're
We don't
gonna
know.
do?
I can't tell you that. I thought City of Brass was supposed to be 400, and it came out to be like 550. So when I make a guess, first two things happen. Charles Wright wants to beat me up. He gets real mad, and
Ha.
then because we don't know, and we have a Swords and Wizardry version, and we have a version for 5e, and so that affects when I say page count. Which one do I mean? Well, it depends on who's asking, and it depends on just layout decisions. Because Alex has made I like a decision I like a lot that's going to affect the layout differently because it has to do with relouts. He wants to have really long and really kind of literary relouts that you can choose not to use. What's one of the things about relouts that people who don't like them, I think, forget is that you don't have to read them. They're not required. No one says that.
Well, and I do think, I mean, not to interrupt you, but I do think a lot of it is that like everybody's got their own style
Mm-hmm.
of the way they DM, and then when you start doing those read aloud boxes, it's like it's not you, right? There's like a disconnect there between the
Yeah,
two things.
absolutely. And I think that he did it that way because what it's doing is to get the GM the feel of what he thought they would see and expecting it to be pulled out and used by the GM in their own voice. But they're presented as he saw they would be, and so to be used separately. And I think that's they're well done. They're longer than usual, is my point. And because of that, when they span pages or they span spreads, how will that look using the layout tools we've got? Because if you have enough of those that span pages and we make decisions on, okay, we're going to make more white space here and push it up, you make 6 of those decisions, you've had 12 pages already. So I can't tell you a good page count. It's probably at least 200.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's a good sized module. I mean,
No, it
honestly.
is. It's a great adventure path. It gets you 3 to 10. It gets you there, I think, really cleverly. It's got some really cool tricks. It's got some really, really neat little side things that are just interestingly done. It's got a really dark. You can see on the Kickstarter page. There's a picture of the Swagan going down deep, and they have a big like man of war behind them with people in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Like
that's like on the hoof, man. They're taking them down to be for a meal, and they aren't
oh,
feeding them anything, right? And so they keep them alive, and that came from conversations that Alex and I had when I knew how dark this was. I made my one and only real contribution to this book was Alex said, "How do you bring bodies down so they're still fresh to eat underwater?" And Mike said, "Well, either you put them in a big whale like Jonah." Or you put them in a big jellyfish and you drag them down. And he liked the jellyfish one. And so that was Zach's contribution. So
well, go. Way to go, Zach. Way to
I
go.
think
So,
I'm great, man. Look at me.
yeah. So, and I mean, obviously, it's in fifth edition D&D, which is like arguably the most played RPG in the world. But you are going to do a Swords and Wizardry version as well,
Yes, we are.
correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Because you always support the Swords and Wizardry people, even if
Yep.
it's definitely a smaller market share, but you definitely are taking care of
No,
the old
it's our
school fan.
market share. And we're going to do a lot more with Swords and Wizardry coming up pretty soon that I can't talk about because then Matt Finch would kill me. But we're going to
You got
make
a
some.
lot of people threatening you with
Well, the
under
problem
pain of
is
death.
because my role in the company, my official title is COO, so that makes me blamed for everything and responsible for nothing until something goes wrong, right?
Mm.
So, no, but I'm a part of every one of the projects we do, enough to where I know the directions we're taking, and but I know the people who are actually have the stake, and that would be Matt. And like I have to be careful around Alex too because he's a really good attorney, and I don't want to get sued, man.
Yeah, fair. So okay, so I'm guessing there's sharks and there's the Sharkmen. See, I don't even like calling them Swaggin or whatever because it's a tough word to say. So I always called them Sharkmen. I mean, that's what I
Yeah,
always called them.
I
I mean,
use
that's basically what they are. I mean, well, they're very Cthulhu-esque too.
they're
You
very,
ever
very, very much the deep ones from I think the Shadow over Innsmouth.
do you think that was purposely made? I mean, who knows
Well,
who
Steve
originally?
Marsh is the guy who actually put him in and named him. And I asked him how to say it, and I just don't remember how he says it. But Steve Marsh is the one who wrote them, and he said I'm almost positive he told me they came from the Shadow over Innsmouth.
Okay. So yeah, so they're like correct. They are very Cthulhu-esque as far as that's concerned. Like when I saw this and I thought about, I don't know. I mean, this is neither here nor there. But I mean, do you read a lot of fantasy novels and things like that?
I used to. I don't. I
Okay.
listen to him now.
Okay. Did you? Do you ever have you ever read the Sam Sykes novel, Tome of the Undergates?
No, I've not.
Okay, well, I mean, so anybody who watches this after the fact, maybe that like the first like 250 pages of that novel is the adventurers, they call themselves adventurers. It isn't one of those like weird like things where it's like it actually like tells oh we're adventurers, but it's an adventuring party that was hired to be on a ship to protect this religious man who's being delivered from point A to point B, but he has this artifact, this tome, and they are actually attacked by like Sharkmen. I mean, and very Cthulhu-esque creatures on the seas. And so when I saw this, I like immediately kind of went back to that book because I had read it fairly recently. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just maybe thought you could draw the connection. But
No, I cannot.
Well, then fine.
I could tell you it's closely related to the U series. That's Alex's, I think, inspiration that was his favorite series as well. And Alex has always wanted to write about these, and it comes to the fact that everything comes back down to the founder, right? Well, Bill Webb, he loves these things. He's always loved them, and so once the word Sea Devil was said in front of him, that was it. It was all set. It was going to happen, but it's all Alex's vision, and Alex has been. Like he's written some adventures for Gamehole Publishing, and they've been in our humble bundles, and I've done the layout reviews on a couple of them, and they're really good. And he did the missing pin for us, and it was really good. It was very clean. He delivers. I'll say this about Alex for sure, because he is so particular about the words that 5 people have already gone over them and for editing before we even see them. So it comes in really clean, and also. He's play tested it more than I think than a WotC book is play tested. He's run this thing for 5 different groups. Other people have run it. It's been successfully read through so much that it's going to be his vision is there, and our touch on it has been pretty light. So I think it's going to be people will find it to be very, very good, very exciting. If you liked any of his stuff that's come out before, like Brain Gorger, you're going to like this one. The Beetle and Grimm's has been awesome. They're working with us on this one for the map.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. People that maybe don't know who Beetle and Grimm's are.
Beetle and Grimm's are the guys who actually made the $500 platinum edition of Dragon Heist of Waterdeep. They made the silver edition of the Ghost Salt Marsh, and that's like $200. And they're making the $500, I think, edition of the Avernus, Baldur's Gate Avernus, Descent to Avernus, or what the new one is. And what it is they have the fancy handouts. They have the really nice maps. It comes in a really beautiful case. It's a cool product. It's basically the it's the Lexus brand of D&D stuff, right? Wizards of the Coast. They do a good job taking the awesome adventures that Wizards makes for the mass market and then turning them into incredibly luxury stuff. You can get a table with the kind of handouts and stuff that nobody has time to make or order. So it provides people who really care and have the money to be able to have the luxury brand stuff. And they were looking to move outside Wizards of the Coast a little bit to do projects with other companies. And we were lucky enough to be able to negotiate with them and make this, they call it these map vaults, Sea King's Malice. And what it is 3 ship maps, one for each of the main ships in the game. And they're double-sided. One side has this information from ours, and the other side are blank. So you can use them as any old ship maps anywhere that you'd like to. Beautifully done and ready to be put down on your table. And it comes in a big case that it opens at one end like an old style cartographer's case, like a tube. And the only complaint I have about it is that for those guys is that they priced it too low. It's actually a beautiful piece that is at I think it's $49.99 as an MSRP. Is way worth it. Maybe 55. But whatever the price it was like, to me, $30 too cheap. And I actually argued with them on the phone about it and lost the argument. So everybody else wins. So honestly, I think that they do a beautiful job. I feel really lucky they wanted to work with us. And I recommend it if you don't want to play any of this adventure and you think Frog God Games is terrible and you hope we never, ever print a book again. You go and support Beetles and Grimm over there, Beetle and Grimm's, because they make great stuff. And you could get the map separately And if you buy the PDFs, I recommend you upgrade it during the backer kit section to get the physical maps. These are awesome. They're limited. Once they print them, they're never printing them again. It's cool stuff. So I'm super excited, Jazz, work with those guys. I love maps. One of my favorite people in the world is Alyssa Faden. She did the base maps that then they then based these off of with their cartographer. And this is my thing, and I'm just super excited about it.
Yeah, and they do look amazing. And for those of you listening to this, just go to the Kickstarter page for Sea King's Malice, and you'll see all of this artwork, and check it out, because it does look they look fabulous. So two things that you're always get asked. You fund and people give you their grubby money to get their copy. What's your turnaround time on having this delivered
on
to
this
people?
one? This one will be available for purchase at Gamehole Con in November, so the backers will be seeing it before Christmas for sure.
Very cool.
And these, I mean, we've worked very hard since we did the Blight to make sure that when we start a Kickstarter process, you're going to see this stuff within 8 to 12 months. And this one just happens to be faster because we want to have it at Alex's convention. And like there's not been a Kickstarter that is not 80% done in terms of art and 100% written that has launched from us since the Blight. Like, for instance, we were just talking yesterday about the immense Lost Lands Kickstarter. It's immense. And that one that will be in layout come August, and for a delivery probably December. And that was just run. That wasn't that long ago. We ran the Kickstarter, and we had a lot of extras added to it. So we're excited.
Out of curiosity, do you happen to own that giant boat that didn't like Pathfinder miniatures or something like sell that like boat that could be used like the model? You know what I'm talking about?
I do, and I don't.
Okay, because that would that would be cool to have for this.
That would be cool to have. A lot of stuff would be cool to have. I saw that Hasbro made a big giant Jabba's sail barge for Star Wars figures that I want to have too. I would find a way to use that with this, just because I like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, no. So okay, so now just not specifically about Sea King's Malice. I mean, because obviously, it's you guys and the writers and whatever. It's going to be fabulous. But just what do you think it is about undersea adventures, water adventures that draw like dungeon masters in that makes them wanna run those?
Well, I think there's a few reasons. One, I think that the sea is terrifying. I mean, we're so used to it now. We fly over it, and we have a world seems so small. But I think we have as people, we have an ingrained fear of this ocean because the water is poison to us.
Yeah,
and it's so immense. You can't go deep without being crushed to death. You can't stay under long without drowning. I mean, everything about it is dangerous, and so it represents, Iron Men and wooden ships, man. It's all about it. You're already in your own bubble on a ship on top of the water, going across this immensely place you can't explore what's down there, but it's full of life and it's full of danger. And I think it represents, what's science fiction brought us, space adventures and spaceships and that kind of. The seas is the first real place that is alien on our own world. And I think we have that kind of built into us, and we know that it's dangerous. And it means adventure. It screams adventure. When you stand on a beach and look out, and all you see is horizon and water, what's out there? You just want to know,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess there's that. I mean, but there's always like I can remember reading the rules for fighting underwater in the in U3, and I mean, and it was just kind of like. It was kind of neat how it was debilitating for players, but also it made them have to, figure it out. How
you
are
had
we
to
going
think
to
about, hey man, you're in third dimension. Suddenly, you're going from fighting in two-dimensional spaces all the time because you're fighting on the same level plane, or sometimes you'd have stairs and you'd be up on a patio or something, right? But suddenly I can attack from above, man. I can be below and hiding, and enemies can be anywhere. In ways that even though
much more maneuverable than you are.
Much more maneuverable, and you have mimics and you have lurkers above, and I mean a stupid party never looks up, right?
Yeah.
But now you have to look every direction, and you have to keep on looking that direction because something could suddenly show up there that wasn't there before in a way that's just not usual. And I think that coupled with just being underwater is naturally alien. So I think it's the same kind of attraction you see when you see like I can think of this. It's have to look on my shelf now because it was on the tip of my tongue. The the adventures with and spell shoot the one out of space one, with like with the ships in space and the mind flayers and everything else. The
Oh
second
yeah,
edition.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it either now.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I was looking at it, but it's too dark in my room to see it. It's next to my birthright box. God dang it!
Spelljammers.
That's it. Oh, I'm old, Lance. I'm an old man.
Yes, yes. Well, it's better. Getting older, as my father says, growing old is a lot better than the alternative.
It certainly is. That certainly is true.
But
very true.
All right, so I mean, it's also for me. I think it's the ability to incorporate really alien creatures and opponents, because of the fact that, like, people get used to running into the goblins and the orcs and the trolls, and even stuff like chimeras and manticores and dragons, for that matter. They kind of know, but once you throw somebody in,
dragon.
yeah, another dragon. But
it's gonna breathe on us. Look out! Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, when you start running into like the really peculiar stuff, whether it's an aboleth or if it's like the sea devils and whatever stuff they're not used to, that's when things start getting interesting, and you can start surprising your players a lot.
No, absolutely. I'm excited about this one. I think this represents a lot of what you'll see from us from here on out, which is shorter for us adventures that are illustrated to a level that we haven't done before. Having Casey Christopherson do both writing and art directing has really changed our look, and we're proud of that. Excited about that. The only thing that's not finished right now is the cover, and the cover is done by one of the Magic the Gathering card artists named Alana. She's changed her last name. She just got married, I believe. But her stuff is amazing, and I can't wait to see the finalized cover. So we're moving to the point where we're excited that we can put our books right next to the Storm King's Thunder or some of the Paizo books, and know that they're as good, done by the same kind of artists. And it's and a lot of the artists are the same people we've always used, but we're actually utilizing them in a way that is new and even better. We've developed these guys. They've gotten better, and they've getting paid commiserately. They're getting paid better too. And so we're seeing that pay off. It's just really exciting. Good stuff. And
two last things, and I'll
sure.
let you go. So the first thing is, what is, I know you said you got to keep this stuff, close to the vest, but what can people expect to see from Frog God, in the next 6 months or so?
Well, I can tell you. I mean, that I can tell you. Right now, we're looking at we're do a combination of re-releasing some of the things that we like the most into 5e. And the first one you'll see coming up that was out before, it was the Splinters of Faith, is being redone for 5e, which is a 10-part adventure. It's already been finished. Actually, we added new material. Jeff Harkness added new material to it, and along with that, you'll see the first of the books, the Gazetteers for the Lost Lands setting, which is Rheims. The Grand Duchy of Rheims is coming out. That's almost finished. That was actually, I'll tell you, an internal Frog God secret. That was going to be released with the Sea King's Malice, but it turned out to be confused the product too much, and it had only loosely fit with the Sea King's Malice, and so we moved that to its own Kickstarter. That will be out probably in June. Splinters of Faith, I expect after Gen Con. Following that, I expect that we'll do the next Tome of Horrors. On deck, we have a couple other adventures. You're gonna see, like with the Rheims books, some of the Necromancer books that were out that were in Rheims, like the Tower of Jedifar, Hall of the Rainbow Mage. Those are going to be part of that Kickstarter.
Hall of the Rainbow Mage is one of the best old school. Now it feels so weird to say old school for a 3rd edition module, but I mean,
no, but it's written in a way that is old school feeling, and
totally.
We have all new art for that, and we have a new cover I just saw for that, actually, and we have. We actually had to hire another layout guy just because Chuck Wright is now so busy. We are killing him with books that we had somebody else he laid out the first of the Necromancer ones, and they look really great. Jim Pinto's his name, and he's worked in the industry forever. He's like the world's best curmudgeon.
Oh, yeah. I've actually met him before, and I have some of the stuff that he's written, which is
I
really well
actually I
done.
love his stuff. He's written a lot. I'm a big fan of his stuff because I think it's interesting and really creative.
Oh,
Um,
that Blood Wraith stuff. Did you check
No,
that
I
out?
know, no,
Oh
I have
yeah,
it. I'm
so
looking at
good.
my shelf. I have his newest one actually just came in. He makes really great stuff, and he was looking for some work to do for layout, and he does a different style layout than Chuck does, and he does a nice job. And he actually excoriated me the other day for how I used one of his pieces that he gave me that was art wise for graphic design wise, and I felt like a tool because he is good and he's different than what someone we've worked with before. But I'm real proud of the fact that we are working with him. You know what I'm saying? And so you'll see some of his stuff coming up. And because let's put it this way, here's my hint. Um, he does a lot of stuff in digest size. You may see more of that.
Ooh,
Ooh.
well, we'll say ooh to that, and
And
then
then, but you'll see those. Splinters of Faith is a great one, and that one's coming soon.
oh yeah, Splinters of Fate. It began with the chicken.
It began with chicken. It begins with chicken, and also, I guess the last thing I say that you'll see this year for sure is the next Tome of Horrors.
Very cool. Okay, and the last thing, somebody's a big, huge fan of you and Frog God Games. What's the best way to like contact you, track you down? Where should they go to find out more about the stuff that Frog God Games makes?
Well, there's a couple ways. The best way is to go join our Facebook page. We have the most announcements there. You can friend me personally. I have plenty of room on my friends list. And if you are looking for actual interaction stuff, you want to like become a writer or anything, that's the best ways to get in touch with me. Via through Facebook. You can also Zach at froggodgames.com. If you want something like actually to happen, Mike Battalato is our customer service manager, and Mike at froggodgames.com will get you, the books that you're missing or anything else, or things that happened and various other things. I know that we're having a much better luck with the customer service because we got brand new boxes your copy, Lance, your copy of the City of Brass will come in this fancy brand new box, exterior shipping boxes, so there'll be no more damage in the corners and such. And so we have a lot of that going on, but get a hold of me at Zach at froggodgames.com. I'm slow because I'm about 100 emails behind always. Otherwise, our Facebook page is the best place to find us.
Yeah, the struggle is real with the Facebook page. With not Facebook pages too, but with emails, man. If you ever have a moment where you don't answer them like more than one day, you might as well just give up. You'll never
No,
get back
that's
on
how I
top.
feel right now. And I was ill for 2 days last week, and it was like I'm still trying to catch up, and it's terrible because I feel so guilty over it, but I can't do it all day long, or I'll never give anybody the attention they deserve. So some of them are going to get missed, and if they do, I just tell people email me again, contact me anywhere else, excoriate me. I take abuse like better than anybody. So
Just
it's true though.
make a punching bag.
That's what I have to do.
Yeah, so this is well the only we have people watching, but board games everybody should play. I think if I remember correctly, this is my buddy that's down in Australia. He said, well, you guys must be doing something great. He said, he's looking at all your successful Kickstarter projects. So basically, keep up the good work is what I'm hearing.
We're actually trying to even make it even better. A lot of things have come to fruition. A lot of things are coming really soon that we're doing for internal stuff that you won't see directly outside until like January, that involve how we make things internally to make sure the consistency is there. So we're going to spread that around to everybody. So it's going to be good stuff.
Very cool, man. Well,
all right, man.
Zach, I mean, for a guy I've never met in person, you and Bill are two of the best friends I have in the hobby. So I
appreciate that. We're always glad to be on your channel, man. It's been great.
Oh, sweet. Oh,
pleasure seeking Malice. Malice.
Yeah, go back it, and if you back it again.
That's right.
That's I always say that because that's what who was I can't remember the guys the corrupt mayor of Chicago. I can't think of his name, but
that's all of them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, from like, but he was like, I believe everybody should vote early and often.
Daily, and then daily has to be daily.
Yeah, early, often, and daily. Yeah. So, but yeah, that probably is. All right. Take care, brother.
Have a great one.